Good evening, everyone. I'm actually turning my video off because I'm in a remote location, and I think if I use my bandwidth on video, then the clarity will not be there in other things. So today I'll be shutting off my video, and we'll be trying to collaborate and see what we can do. This is the final workshop on how to grow your own fresh veggies, and today's lecture will be mostly on about harvesting and how to save your food produces, and how you can manage your waste and all these things. So it's actually a closing of all the ties that we had talked about, and it's like sort of a summarizing of all the things that we have learned till now. So in today's lesson, what we will learn is that what are the proper ways of harvesting, and this is in line with the ability to understand that most of the harvest that we do is taking out all the crop produces and taking it out from the farm, or taking it out and then getting it sorted out somewhere else, and then the waste that is produced from that, we also leave it in another place. So this is a very crucial thing that we need to learn. We will be talking about how it is imperative that we think about using this waste, and then that waste should be put into continuous growth. So in farming or in gardening, there is no such thing as waste, and in that sense, we will understand that we need to focus on techniques of harvesting in which yield better growth for future. So like, you don't have to just keep on thinking of harvesting today, you need to think of it in the line of like 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. So even if your mind cannot fathom that, like obviously you will not think of 400 years, but this is really necessary to think of it in the long term, how the waste is a very good and integral part of your good gardens. And then we'll also talk about saving the seeds, of how to save the seeds. We'll watch a video on that, and then how to preserve plant diversity. So you are in the driving seat when it comes to seeds, because you are gardening what you think is right and what you think is good for you. So in that process, what you will get is something that is worthwhile, something that is yielding you good harvest. You will save those seeds, and how to do that, we'll get to learn to do that. Also, I would like you guys all who are watching these videos to share your gardening experiences. We have a WhatsApp group already, but apart from that, I would like to see your gardens interactively. Let's make it more hands-on, and let's make it more challenging for all others to get to know each other's problems and how they overcame it, because challenges shared is also challenges halved. So if a problem shared is problem halved, then you can say that challenges also shared are challenges halved. So when you share your experiences and your challenges, we'll get to know and pick up each other and lift ourselves from this problem of food shortages or anything like that. So this is also another good way of making and building a community spirit, and it can be as diverse as it can get. I mean, it can be local or it can be an international community also. I am targeting to hold this kind of classes every month, from the 1st to the 5th of every month, and in that process we'll be building on a very good community in the process. These are right now running without any sort of commitments in finances. I am leaving it up to you how you want to donate or how you want to sponsor me, but ultimately it boils down to you getting the experience that you are requiring and where you are lacking, and then how I come in is where I give you the expertise of my knowledge over the years of farming and gardening. So that's how I come in this picture. Sustainable gardening practice in the communities will take beyond this workshop. So this is like similar to this. Once we share our challenges and experiences, we get it beyond to the workshop. So this workshop is just linked videos, but when you put it into action, put it into all these theories and all these words into action, that's the right ways of sustainable practices in the community. So today's lesson is more to do with hands-on and how to make a community spirit. So without any wasting any time, let's start with what is the meaning of waste in the gardens. So every harvest is food for all organisms. Just as the little harvest is for us, there is more left for the microbes and the insects and the bacteria. So now we have learned that we are given this harvest of one coconut, or we are giving the harvest of one wheat grain. But when you look at the below part of it, like when you see the waste which is produced, you are just having one glass of coconut water or maybe a little bit of food from the coconut. But when you look at the waste of that coconut, it is so much more. So why is that so? So you can understand from this that the simple law of nature is that nature wants to feed everyone. Why didn't nature just make a coconut the size of the glass and just fill it up with water or coconat water? Why did it have to make such a big container, Everywhere. This is just not with the coconut. Even if you look at the wheat is a simple grain which is having a stalk which is so long. This is sometimes the height up to your waist. So you are looking at the leaves and the stalks there standing there and the husk inside here. So why is all that created? And that too for us is waste. And what do we do with that waste? We burn it. This is a very big problem in India especially. This wheat stubs, we go and burn it because they are creating a headache for the farmers. So we harvest the wheat from here, and then what is left behind are the stubs standing. So what we do is put a fire on it, and in the process we kill all the microorganisms, the bacteria and the earthworms, because it gets so hot here and most of them die out. And then we are left with the soil which is barren and which is prone to erosion and water erosion also, and the air erosion also. And this is important and interesting to learn how we need to understand that nature is about waste creation, or is it about food creation? Food for all. This is food for microbes and bacteria and viruses. This is just perfect food. In fact, if you remember, cocoa pit, it is selling at such a high price, and this is used in garden pot soils. So like when you make garden pots, you are using a lot of cocoa pits in it. And what is cocoa pit? Basically is all these husks shredded into small particles. You can imagine that this is the kind of organisms that they need to eat. So we need to understand what is waste, and we need to understand what is the harvest. And from that, if we clearly understand that this is food for all the microbes and the bacteria, you will get to see 20 grams of wheat that you get, 80 grams of it will be the stalk, right? So that logic clearly explains that the nature is trying to tell us something, and we need to understand that, right? So also is the same with the maize. The maize is just a simple thing. You can see one maize here, and then there's another one maize there. So maximum a maize tree can grow is 3 or 4 maize cobs, but look at the height of the stalk, so much green waste, right? And we don't even know what happens to this green waste. Is most of the time what is done is just shredded off, and maybe if the farmer is smart and lucky, he will use it to feed the cattle. So which is also a good thing. If you don't feed it to the soil, you can at least feed the cattle, and then you can use that as cow dung, and you can use that to apply to your farm. So you need to complete the circle. The whole idea of farming or gardening is to complete the circle. What this is doing is not completing the circle. We are leaving the circle open, and we are polluting the air in it, and in the process everybody starts to do this. So it's like a global level pollution. Like in Delhi, if you see, the reason why it gets very smoky there, the whole of Delhi is polluted, and the reason is because the air travels, the air currents are traveling and taking away the smoke there, and then Delhi becomes the pollution capital, and this because of some farmers on the other side burning the stubs. So we need to understand how we contribute to the environment, or at least understand what the food is made for. Food is for everyone, including the bacteria and the insects and the viruses. This is a society-based green waste decomposer. So we were talking about how every food is managed and created for by nature. So this is imitating what a cow's stomach does in an electronic form, and which you can use in your society or in your community where you have more than 10 to 50 houses. They can buy this sort of equipment. Let's see what it does. It's self-explanatory. Let's just see what it does. This idea is very simple as what the cow does, because the cow will do the same thing. It will first eat the green waste, it eats the waste, right, and then it goes into its stomach, and when it goes into its stomach, what happens is it just churns the waste, and this churning is happening for like 24 hours before the cow then starts to eat again and defecates again. So this is a simple way of doing it, but without any sort of living thing involved. So this is a very efficient way. If you have capacities, like you can read in the beginning, the capacity of the plant is 25 kgs a day to 5000 kgs a day. So that's the amount of input that this machine can take. So that's a really good idea if you are investing in a place, and if you have a society. This is a very community way of doing it and fixing the green waste problem. Yeah, actually you'll get organic compost, so it's not even waste after that, right? So that's really a nice way of getting rid of your waste. Yeah, so saving seeds. Now we were talking about the 3 types of seeds that are there basically, which are the native seeds, or we can say also the selective seeds, and then there were the GMO seeds and the hybrid seeds. So now, according to your understanding, what you can do in the beginning is you can maybe start with hybrid seeds, because those are available in the shops, but in nature, if you look at it, the best idea would be going for selective seeds or natural seeds, and in those seeds you can find the ones which are more conducive to your requirement, to your climate, and less susceptible to disease or rot. Because when you use seeds that are in your surrounding, they will be conducive to your local climate. So you don't need to go to shops and start looking for seeds. Maybe you can start with the seeds that you have in the surrounding, and you can start with simple things like coriander seeds, or you can start with mint leaves, you know, the ones you get from the market, and see and plant them and see how they develop. Because if you go for hybrid seeds, you will definitely get a start to get a harvest, but that harvest will be susceptible to disease. This is very important. The first time you start to garden and you start to see diseases and rotting, you will feel very depressed and you will feel that, oh, gardening is not for me. But it is because you are using the seeds that are not native or selective. So it's very important that you stay with seeds that are selective or native seeds. And then when you plant those seeds, you will also get a harvest that is also of selective seeds. So then you will get a harvest which is also local, climate local, conducive. So that's a really important message I want to share here. Anybody has a question? Yeah, okay. So
No.
yes, okay. So we are moving on. The personal preferences taken care of. So what is the advantages of saving your seed? So whatever you like maybe you like pumpkins, or maybe you like sunflower, or maybe you like onions or chilies or tomatoes. So if you are choosing the seeds that you want to grow, you will also be getting the preference of your seeds that you have taken from nature. So you are in charge when you are taking these seeds from nature and growing it. So you get a personal preference. Whatever you want to feel that this is so sweet, I like to grow it, you become that warrior of nature, you know, that you want to grow that thing because it is very sweet, or you want to grow it because it's nice and healthy for you or for your body. So then you become a warrior, an eco warrior in sense, and you become a person who has the seeds of that particular thing, and you become a person who has freedom of choice. As compared to seeds that are getting from the market, you can get any seeds, but then again they are all very susceptible to disease or rot, because those seeds are heavily dependent on laboratory conditions. Like they are made in the laboratory, obviously, so they are very dependent on a very climate which is very stable, or very it's not harsh for the plant and all these kind of things. The moment the climate gets harsh, if there is a little bit of more sunshine, if there is a little bit more rain, it starts to get rotting, or disease will come in, you know. So again, preference is that of seeds that you will select. When you are selecting the seeds yourself, you will be able to understand the seeds and find the seeds which are strong and more conducive to your preferences, you know. Whichever is more bigger in size or is having more pulp, you will be able to choose that yourself. So a medium of exchange between groups and a medium for friendly community spirit. If you are having your own seeds, you will be able to have a discussion, you will be able to form your own groups, and you will actually make a friendly community spirit with you, and obviously you save the cost of buying the seeds. Okay, seeds needs to be stored in a cool, dry place. What you need to be aware of is, one can use dry neem leaves or ash together with the seeds to preserve them. Now this line is a personal remedy that I have found out. Neem leaves are basically the leaves of the plant that we even call in Africa as moarbaini. So moarbaini, that is the leaves of that, and ash, all we know, we also know well, any ash which is basically wood burnt, and we use that ash and we mix it with the neem leaves and we apply it on the seeds. So that seeds becomes as preserved from nature. So what does the ash do? It acts as an antifungal, and the neem leaves also act as a dehydrant. So like it absorbs the water also. So both these items actually absorbs the moisture in the seeds, and then they actually preserve the seeds for a longer duration. I mean, you cannot use this when you are saving the seeds of the wheat, but you can use it on any sort of other seeds, fruit seeds, vegetable seeds. You can use this combination. Make sure the seeds are dry and separated from its fruit or pod. So when you are saving the seeds, you have to remove them from their pods, and you have to make them separate from the fruit pulp. So that's really important when you are saving the seeds. If the seeds have germinated, it can't be saved. So make sure the seeds do not reach at that stage. if the seeds are in a stage of germination, they have started to germinate, then don't save those seeds. You are actually not be able to getting the proper growth if their seeds have started to germinate. So always select the seeds that are closed in their pods or closed, have not germinated. Those are the right type of seeds you need to save for. So we'll start with the video now. It's very interesting, and let's listen carefully of what this lady has to say about saving the seeds.
One of my earliest gardening memories is discovering that a dried marigold flower actually contains dozens of marigold seeds. I couldn't believe my luck. Free seeds. I planted one of those seeds and I was hooked on gardening for life. If you learn the basic principles of seed saving, I think you'll be hooked too. In today's video, we'll talk about the benefits of saving seeds, some of the basic principles of which seeds you can save. We'll talk about when to harvest seeds and how to store those seeds once you've harvested them. But if we haven't met before, my name's Angela from Growing in the Garden, and I love to share garden inspiration and helpful tips so you can be successful in your own garden. One of the biggest advantages of saving seeds is the ability to have seeds that are adapted to your region. If you save seeds from year to year, you'll have access to the seeds that you love indefinitely. Learning how to save seeds also saves you money. One of my favorite parts of saving seeds is having plenty of seeds to share with others. Set aside some seeds to plant next year and then share the extras in a seed swap or donate them to a local seed library. Garden seeds also make great gifts for gardeners. There are a few basic principles about seed saving that it's important to understand so that you can be successful saving your own seeds. The first thing to understand is there are different types of seeds, and some seeds are good for saving and others should be left to the seed saving experts. For successful seed saving, it's important to save seeds that will be true to type. You don't want a seed that has been cross-pollinated. So we're going to talk about a little bit of garden lingo so that you have a basic understanding of which type of seeds it's great to save. Self-pollinating crops typically pollinate themselves without help from insects or other plants. Self-pollinating plants such as beans, peas, and tomatoes are good choices for first-time seed savers. Open pollinated plants such as pumpkins, squash, cucumbers, and corn will cross-pollinate, meaning the seeds from one variety can be affected by pollen from a neighboring plant. If you are growing more than one variety of a type of plant nearby each other, do not save seeds from resulting fruit. They may be cross-pollinated. A great example of this happened to me. I was growing cantaloupe and Armenian cucumbers next to each other. I saved the seeds from Armenian cucumbers and planted them the next year. The result was not Armenian cucumbers. Armenian cucumbers are actually in the melon family, so the cantaloupe and the Armenian cucumber seeds had cross-pollinated. The resulting seeds produced this hybrid, which was not nice to look at and tasted even worse. Most heirloom seeds are good choices for saving seeds. This seed has often been handed down for several generations, normally at least 50 years. What about hybrid plants? Do not save seed from hybrid varieties. Hybrid plants, often designated with an F1 distinction, are two varieties that have been cross-pollinated to produce a third variety with the desired traits from the parents. Seed from hybrid plants will not be true to type. When you decide to save seeds from a plant, you are encouraging whatever traits that plant had to continue. Save the best tasting and healthiest fruits and plants from which to save seeds. Select characteristics you want to continue by saving seeds from plants with those attributes. If a plant struggled with disease or just didn't perform well, do not save seeds from that plant. We don't want to continue that line of seeds. Seeds for saving must be fully developed on the plant or on the vine. It's a little bit different for each type of seed that you want to save, but the basic principle is that the best time to eat the fruit may not be the best time to save the seed. The life cycle of the plant concludes with producing and developing seeds. In order to save seeds, you need to be patient and let those seeds fully develop on the plant. Here are a few tips about when to save a particular type of seed. Beans and peas are one of the simplest ways to begin your seed saving journey. Beans and peas are ready to harvest when the pods turn brown on the vine and shrink against the seeds. Radishes, lettuces, and greens, flower, and then produce seed pods. It's best to let those seed pods fully develop on the plant and turn brown before harvesting. Bag the seed pods so that the dry seeds don't spill, or harvest those dry seed pods each day as the seeds are ripening. Pepper seeds are ripe when the peppers have reached their full color. To harvest pepper seeds, simply slice the pepper open to get the seeds off the central stem. Cucumber seeds are ripe when that cucumber is overripe and yellow. It's definitely past the stage that it's best to eat. Harvest that overripe cucumber and set it aside for a couple of weeks, and then harvest the seeds on the inside. Artichoke seeds are ready after the flower fully develops and you start to see kind of a fuzz form on that artichoke. At that point, you can pull the seeds up. Tomato seeds are ripe when the tomato is full colored, not firm, but a little bit soft to the touch. Asparagus seeds are ready when those red berries that hold the seeds begin to shrivel and the seeds inside have turned black. Roselle seeds are ready when that calyx fully dries and begins to separate a little bit and gets really dry. Go ahead and clip that calyx off, put it in a paper sack, then you can often crack roselle seeds open like a pecan and those seeds will be inside. Malabar spinach seeds are ready when those seeds are nice and dark. To harvest dill seeds, leave the seeds on the plant until brown and dry. Cut off with a length of stem and allow to dry in a paper sack. The seeds will fall to the bottom. This same process also works with other herbs like basil and cilantro. You can harvest seeds from any type of sunflower, not just the big mammoth varieties. To save seeds from sunflowers, wait until the petals have fallen off and then cut the sunflower, leaving a few inches of stem, and let it dry with the seeds facing up. Wildflowers are one of my favorite things to save seeds from. Most wildflowers develop seeds and drop seeds naturally, and that is how they come back year after year. Learn to recognize what the seeds look like and leave a few blooms on the plants at the end of the season. Allow some to drop so that they can come back next year. Also save some of those seeds to plant in other areas of your yard or to share with friends. Common method for saving wildflower seeds is to allow those seeds to fully develop on the flower and then snip those flower heads at the end of the season and leave them in a paper sack. Typically, those seeds are going to fall to the bottom of the sack and then you can remove the other parts of the flower. So some of the seeds we talked about are dry seeds that you allow to dry naturally, and a couple of the seeds we talked about are wet seeds. So it's important to understand the different methods for harvesting and getting those seeds ready to save. Wet seeds, such as tomatoes and cucumbers, often need to be fermented to remove that pulp and germination inhibiting substances on the outside of the seed. As those seeds ferment, the viable seeds will float to the bottom. Those are the ones you want to save, and you can discard all that pulp and unviable seed. After the coating is removed, spread those viable seeds out on paper plates or wax paper. Allow the seeds to completely dry before you save them. Saving dry seeds is pretty simple. My favorite method is just to put them in a paper sack and allow them to dry completely in that paper sack. Any extra moisture won't be trapped inside that bag, and so problems with mold and mildew are alleviated. Once seeds are thoroughly dry, it's important to store your seeds correctly. For short-term storage, store the seeds in paper envelopes. For longer storage, store in airtight containers. Be sure to label the seeds with the type of seed and the year they were harvested. Store seeds in a cool, dark place. For the longest storage life for seeds, store seeds in the freezer. If there's a plant in your garden and you're not sure if you can save the seeds, look it up. Research how to harvest and save that particular type of seed. Enjoy saving and sharing those seeds with others. Hopefully you learned something new about saving seeds today. If you have more tips to share them in the comments. I'd love to learn more. Thank you so much for watching.
Okay, pretty straightforward. I think we learned a lot from that, and how important it is to get the seeds dry, because every time the fungus or the seed goes bad, it's because of the water content. So we have to take care of that all the time. So keeping it dry is really important. And now we go on to the next topic of preserving the seeds, and I call it the 3 S's. So in short, what it means is sugar, salt, and the sun. So if you are aware of plums, if you are aware of amla, and if you are aware of things that can be turned into a jam, then sugar is a great way of preserving your produce, right? And another way is salt. You can use salt to preserve your things, like pickles. They have a lot of salt content in it. So what that does is, first of all, you dehydrate your produce and then you submerge it into sugary water to make it into a jam, or you boil it and then you put it a little bit of sugar in it and you make it into a jam. If you look at it on the other side, using the salt, you dry it or you make it into a semi liquidish kind of thing, and you dry it in the sun, and then you use that now with salt and make pickles out of it. So this is another way of increasing your shelf life. We talked about how to increase the shelf life, and one other way of that's called sun drying. So I'm just giving you a simple glimpse. Let me just present to you this. Just give me a minute here. So you're able to see this picture here. So this is a simple way of sun drying it. You can see here that we are just using a simple sort of wide trays, and we are drying. These are the tomatoes here, these are some sort of plums here, these are chilies here. So we are drying it in the sun, and then what happens is, when you dehydrate, the water content just goes away, and then you are left with something which is very, very hard. So like you can see this, it's written here, home dried sun tomatoes. So when you click on this, what do we need from the tomato? We actually need the tomato paste, right? So if you look at this, these are all just tomatoes, and if you just put them in water and you just grind that pulp, it will become like a tomato paste again. So it's really interesting how we can use the dehydrated things, and especially in this time of the year where we are having a lot of price hikes of the tomatoes. This is a great way of using the sun to preserve your produce. So you can see here how simple is it is. It's just a simple tray and the sun's rays are coming. You can make it complicated by making a device like this. I'll post a video on how to make a sun dryer. Basically the cold air comes in from here, and there is a fan here. It's like an exhaust fan, and that pulls out the air from here. So whatever the sunlight is hitting and whatever the evaporation of the moisture is here, it is pulled out, and it is pulled out with the water. So what you're left with is the pulp, or the fruit gets more dehydrated and more small in size and less weight, and then ultimately it looks like this. So this is how it looks like once the water content is dried out. So just remind yourself again, sugar to make jams or stuff like that to preserve your produce, or salt to make the pickles, or a way of increasing your shelf life, or you can use the sun to dehydrate it. You can see here how the tomatoes look once they are dried up. So these are basically just tomatoes that have dried up, right? So you can use the sun in many other ways to do that. What I'd like you guys to do now is to sort of share your experiences when you garden. So it's like you have learned some things from these lessons, and now it's about doing it in the farm or doing it in the garden, and then you share your experiences and what made you change your mind about gardening. So this can be a very good experiment with the kids also, and a great experience with the family also, because you will be also involved in something which is bettering the planet, bettering the ways of your food intake. And if we are cribbing about the farmers of not giving us the food, good food, or they are giving us food which is full of pesticides, this is a great way of fixing that problem. So we have covered a lot of topics here, and all the topics are actually equally intertwined with each other. Like you start with germination, you start with seeds, you have to understand the moon, you have to understand the sun, and you have to get to know all these intrinsic things, how they work with each other, the microbes and the bacteria and the viruses, all of them working together to bring up that garden of yours in the backyard or in that potted plant. So yes, we need to experience this, and that only happens when you take action. So let's share our experiences in the group. Let's get to have this community spirit started up, so that we can have a sort of an exchange of ideas, because ultimately if we have anything to give each other for the future, it's ideas, and the right ideas need to be archived, need to be shared, and need to be getting along with each other. So it's a personal like an agenda that I have taken upon, is to create an awareness about gardening. Not many people talk about gardening with the topics that I have taken, but I think that each and every topic that I have touched upon, and maybe in the future which I will touch upon, will be part and parcel of the wholeness of gardening. So we are into there are people, they keep on saying that we need to live and let live, but the gardening and what it has taught me personally is you let live and then you live. You let live the plants, you let live the animals, you let live the birds, and then you live. So it's not about living and let living, it's about letting live and then you live. Once you let live the environment, you will obviously be able to survive. If you just keep on living with yourself and then you let the environment survive, that will never work. That will be the problem of the future. That will be a profit motivation. But if you want to be prosperous, you have to think of the other first. You have to think of the wholeness. You have to think of the whole cycle. That's how you get to complete the cycle and get to in a better position than basically animal instincts. What is animal instincts? It's about selfishness. It's about gathering, and we are above and beyond. At least at the conscious level, we are more evolved. So how do we think? How do we act? It all depends on how we are trained. So my expertise and my guidance is geared towards this. Let's train the young minds, let's train the young gardeners to do it the right way. Instead of using some half-baked experiments, GMO seeds and fertilizers, chemical pesticides, let's just get to know the scientific part of everything, and let's understand how nature does it. And once you do it the natural way, the nature will give you a flow, a boost, and you will be taken to the right destination at the very easiness. We will also be able to get to involve with your neighborhoods. This is a great way of connecting with your neighbors. If you have a garden, or if you have a plot of plants that are growing, it is a great way of starting a conversation, to understand the laws of nature. So we are all connected in one way, and food is a way of forging ties, strengthening relationships. It's said that a lot of food is wasted. So how do we take care of these problems? We take care of it by taking it in our own hands, growing our own food, getting our hands a little bit dirty. So that's what I'm encouraging with this sort of videos and lectures. Apart from this, we also want to promote healthy communities. So if you are a leader in your locale, collaborate with us. We would love to share our ideas, our lectures, or our presentations with your groups, and we'll be able to have greater strength in that. I am looking forward to schools also because young minds are the ones that are more absorbent of the ideas, but equally minded, open-minded people are also what we are looking for, and we want to convert our landscapes. We need to convert our landscapes to what they are right now into stone jungles. We need to convert those landscapes into gardens and fruit bearing gardens and vegetable bearing gardens. So that's our purpose. Let's understand green waste again, just the way I started out with. We are not the only ones that need the food. The food is for the bacteria and the microbes and the viruses, and the proof of that is only 20% of the harvest is useful. The rest we are considering as waste is actually for the microbes and the bacteria and the viruses. So let's incorporate that into green waste management. Let's segregate our waste, that's the most important parts. Let's segregate our waste and make this the climate change problem into a place where we have our carbon footprint which is the least. So we saying that we are alive, we have a footprint, but are we doing the best we can to reduce that footprint? As I had shown in the group, we have a video that is called the compost story. We are understanding how we are generating a lot of carbon in this planet's surface, and everything the nature is doing, it's trying to capture it from the plants, it's trying to capture it in the sea, but still we are creating more and more carbon, we are burning oil still. So to address these issues, we need to understand all the small balances, that checkpoints that the nature is doing, and we are trying to collaborate with that. We need to focus to how to take it into account and be responsible people and reduce our carbon footprints. So we promote also rainwater harvesting, green waste management, and all these kind of ideas, so that we don't end up with landfills. Ultimately, we have a landfill or a garbage dump everywhere in most towns. Why is this happen? Because we have converted something into a waste, whereas earth there is nothing as a waste. We have found something to be wasteful, we have found something to be not useful, we don't know how to recycle it, so we just put it in the landfills and we think that it is a waste. But in nature, if you look at it carefully, everything goes back into a cycle, into a loop. So we need to understand that. In this way, the only way to do this is through education. So this is the way I am trying to do it here, through educating, online seminars, maybe it in schools, maybe it in lecture rooms with key people who are of age, but they also want to be open-minded. The highest education is the one which not only gives you information, but also makes our lives in harmony with all existence. So this is by Rabindranath Tagore, and this is a very, very good summary of what we need to do. We need to harmonize ourselves with existence, right? All our actions need to be geared towards that kind of thing, that whatever action that we do, we need to educate ourselves that whatever action that we do, is it survivable, is it good for the next 50 years, 10 years, 50 years? That's what we need to say and understand. So a way of living in harmony with existence, that's what we need to educate us with. Apart from this, just a small summary of what we do with our group projects. We also have various programs that we run, and in these programs we educate people with the problems of the current education system. So a child is born who speaks the truth and expects justice. Every child, even if you take a child and, for example, two brothers, right, or two sisters, or one brother and one sister, if you give a child one sweet and the other sibling 2 sweets, what will the child do? Will the child fight for the equality? Will the child fight for justice? So that means the child, even no matter how small the child is, 2 years, 3 years, they understand that they have not gotten justice. So a child speaks the truth. We are all aware of this. There are so many jokes made on this also. He speaks the truth, or she speaks the truth. Whereas when we become adults, we start lying and we start doing manipulation and all this kind of thing. So something that is pure, it starts to speak the truth and expects justice. We expect a child to become a proud parent, earn well, do good for the earth, you know, and is in happy in his relationships or her relationships. But what is the child of today? A disconnected, disoriented, dependent, deprived human being. Isn't it so? Who is resonating with this kind of ideas? The child of today is disconnected with the world, is disoriented, does not know what is right and wrong, and dependent, and most of all deprived of relationships, deprived of emotional support, or is not able to give emotional support. So this is the kind of result that we are being given with right now. So we also work on these programs of how to fix this problem, right? So with the current economic system, there is exploitation and there is profit only. What we need to do is we need to change that to prosperity. How do we do that? So we need to focus on employment which is generating based on environment sustenance. That is how we will get a sustainable earth. How do we get the sustainable earth? We understand the cyclic nature of Mother Earth. We understand the environment means we understand the cyclic nature of the earth, right? And this becomes through education, through understanding human behavior, how we need to have our relationships sorted out, how the parents are communicating with their siblings, how the brother and the sister or the siblings, the way they communicate, the way they trust each other, the way they honor the relationships. We need to educate ourselves in that. You know, how the teacher and the student are communicating, we need to understand with that behavior. How the employee and the employer are having the relationship forged. That's where we are also focusing on. So we educate this through these workshops, and we try to give you ideas on it, on how to focus on those kind of things, apart from obviously this understanding the earth's cycles. So this online workshop is linked with this part here, but we also conduct this kind of workshops, and we also work on entrepreneurship which is earth friendly, which is prosperous and not profit oriented. So we are converting it into business which is positively affecting the earth. That's what entrepreneurship of today is. I heard a quote once that if we start fixing the earth, it will take 500 years of employment, jobs worth 500 years is there for everyone on the planet to fix the earth. So is it our inability to fix it? No, we still want an earth which is prosperous. So are we doing the right things in a business sense, or are we just still polluting the air and the water and the earth with our businesses? So this is what we cover in this kind of topic. So if you are interested in this kind of programs, you can surely get in touch with us in our groups or in our messaging us directly, and we will surely give you the ideas of how to get forward to this kind of programs. So this is the end of the fresh homegrown vegetables, and I think if anything it was a great journey for me also. It took me a lot of effort to create these presentations, and more so it will be continued every month, because this is my commitment. What should I do for this earth? So if I find that the earth is supposed to be saved, or if I find that the earth needs my help, how do I contribute? So this is my way of contributing every month. If you find that these classes are helpful to you, and you might have a friend in you that is trying to be a gardener, let them know about these courses, let them know about these programs that we are conducting. We encourage you again to leave behind a feedback or some sort of video that we can use to promote this whole idea of getting connected with the gardening part of your life and getting connected with the earth, right? So if there's any other questions, we are actually 5 minutes early today, but if you have any other questions, we can share them here right now.
क्वेश्चंस तो फिलहाल नहीं है, पर
Yes.
आपके जो आज सेमिनार पूरा हुआ है हमारा,
Right.
तो बहुत ही अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस रहा आपके साथ.
Thank you.
बहुत वास्ट टॉपिक्स आपने शेयर किए हैं. मेरे लिए बहुत नया था ये. गार्डनिंग मीन्स मिट्टी में बीज डालना और पौधा उसको मतलब इंसेक्ट. आपने डीप नॉलेज दी है ना, बहुत सारा रिसर्च करके.
Right.
तो बहुत ही हेल्पफुल रहेगा आई थिंक. लिंक, और मेरा गार्डन मैं जब सेटअप कर लेती हूँ मैं बिल्कुल वीडियो शेयर करूँगी आपसे.
Right.
And thank you so much.
Yes, yes, yes. This is a very encouraging for me also, because we have a couple of people who are dedicated on this group also. Some of them are at work, but they are not able to attend, so they also communicate in the group. But thank you very much, Sheetal ma'am, and we are looking forward to your garden, how it looks. And of course, if you do it naturally, as I said, it will become very, very fluid, and you will get a sort of push by nature, you know, to do the right things. When you do it naturally, there is a sort of small push from nature towards positivity, towards a positive vibe, towards sharing, towards caring. So these are the kind of the things that we need to focus on. Life is what else but to get a hold of this small glimpses of nature flowering, and the bees will come into your home and the birds will start chirping, and all this I'm saying out of personal experiences. Sometimes there was a snake will come outside in your house, you know, to meet the frogs and all these things. So you need to be aware and to be open-minded also on all these things. You don't need to be afraid of it also, but everything is a solution, right? So you don't need to be afraid of these things. There's all the natural cycle that are coming. We even have the hawks and the eagles coming into our garden, because we have such a green lush area in the desert area. So we have even the big birds which are flying high, they come and perch into our trees and all that. So it's really great to feel the goodness, and then that's how I'm sharing this, because I am filled up with this good vibe and I like to share it, you know. And please also encourage your friends and whoever it is, your kids can join also these groups. Every month we'll be holding these classes, and somewhere down the line we'll be updating 1 or 2 slides there, but most of the theme will be similar to what we have attributed till now. I have an experience of almost 10 years in teaching, and I'm using that, I'm dedicating that sort of ways of presenting to creating presentations that are more useful and that are not touched by in normal you know, gardening lessons. So it was great meeting you all online or offline. Let's meet again in the group and let's share what we have learned. Let's share through our own activities. Let's share with our videos. Let's share with our pictures. It will be a great experience for me too. Asante sana, brother. Namaste. Thank you.